It looks like Canelo Alvarez is headed back to Dazn to face Avni Yildrim. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to my channel for the latest and greatest. Let's jump right in the mix. 2021. We're going to have fun with the channel. Subscribe, hit the bell icon. Mike Coppinger, boxing reporter of The Athletic, he posted this. Sources: Canelo Alvarez and Matchroom Boxing have agreed on the major deal points towards a February 27th title defense versus Avni Yildrim on Dazn in the U.S. Still a few considerations being negotiated. Alvarez would then turn around and fight May 5th if no injury sustained, end quote. Link in the description. Now, I don't really like the sound of this because when Canelo announced through Eddie Reynoso, his manager and trainer, that he was a free agent, I was optimistic. We were hearing rumors that he could fight Caleb Plant, and it almost seemed too good to be true, and it was. They were talking about Caleb Plant for December, but in came the Canelo surprise, and in actuality, he ended up fighting Caleb Smith. Still a title fight. I personally think it would have been a better build-up and more of a chess match. I really don't see Caleb Plant, win, lose, or draw, getting destroyed every single second of every round like Caleb Smith was. Now Caleb Smith saying he's too big and can't make the weight. There's rumors that he had 4 weeks to train, whatever. He lost the fight. He looked horrible. I do like the Caleb Plant fight. So I was hoping for that. But, the WBC, aka We Back Canelo, they gave Canelo this guided path, said he has a mandatory, even though he's the franchise champion. And he previously had a mandatory at 160. His name was Jermall Charlo. The fight didn't happen. He also had another mandatory in Sergey Derevyanchenko, who gave Golovkin issue and gave a tough fight to Danny Jacobs. The fight didn't happen. But luckily for the IBF, they stripped him of the belt for failure to comply. Golovkin later went on to fight Derevyanchenko. Very tough fight for Golovkin, and that was that. So, two mandatories at 160 that Canelo could have fought, but for some reason didn't, especially the WBC mandatory, because Avni Yildrim is his WBC mandatory in his now new weight class, 168, because now he's saying he can't move back down to 160 because he randomly moved up to fight Kovalev, who just failed a drug test after that fight. And, no one said go up to 175. Now he's saying his body can't make the weight anymore before the Andrade and Charlo fight. Two guys that he could have fought in previous divisions were to come off. Now with this, I'm not really a huge fan of the fight. Avni Yildrim is almost on a 2-year layoff. He's coming off of a loss. He lost to the guy that beat the guy. He lost to Anthony Durrell, who later, right after that fight, he lost to David Benavidez, who lost his belt. Nobody's beat David Benavidez, and if you follow him on social media, he's up in Big Bear training with his pops and Abel Sanchez, and he's looking like a monster. So we all know these are better fights for Canelo. Guys like David Benavidez, Caleb Plant, Jermall Charlo, Demetrius Andrade. But, these fighters sometimes have mandatories, and it's the mandatory that you don't care to see. Those mandatories seemingly always get done. Golovkin versus Dominic Wade, a guy out of nowhere, that mandatory can get made. Golovkin versus Camille Sesmeta gets made no problem. Canelo, his mandatory is Avni Yildrim, gets made no problem. But when his mandatory is Jermall Charlo, doesn't happen. When it's Derevyanchenko, doesn't happen. And the same could be said for Golovkin. When Derevyanchenko was Golovkin's mandatory the first time and Canelo failed a drug test, Golovkin didn't fight Derevyanchenko. And he never fought Jermall Charlo, who was also his mandatory with the WBC since he was a unified champion at 160. So, boxing politics continues to do the same thing. There was a glimmer of hope. I was hoping PBC got this particular Canelo fight. Not that it's a good fight. It doesn't matter what network it was on. I don't think it would have been a great fight. But the rumor was that it could go to Fox. So I do like if Canelo's just doing a stay busy fight that nobody in their right mind would pick him to lose. judging by his career, his resume, how he looked in his last fight, the fact that like there's everything stacked against Avni Yildrim, right? Canelo just fought in December, and now he's gonna fight in February. So he should be sharp because it's a quick turnaround, and he didn't really take any punishment in the Caleb Smith fight. So now he's gonna go in and fight this Avni Yildrim and further push the issue and acclimate to 168. Meanwhile, his opponent hasn't fought in the weight class in 2 years, and he's coming off of a loss. So if it was on Fox, at least that would have been free TV. So I like the prospect of Canelo on free TV with a fight like this. Similar when Pacquiao fought Jeff Horn. It wasn't necessarily a big fight. No one knew who Jeff Horn, the fight turned out to be pretty good, but no one really knew who Jeff Horn was. But just that it was on basic cable on ESPN, that's much better than when Pacquiao was on HBO fighting on Jesse Vargas and Rios and Algeria on pay-per-view. You get my point? So I would have preferred to see this Canelo Yildrim on PBC on Fox, for one, because it would have been free TV instead of a paid subscription-based $20 a month service in America, right? And then two, it would have gave me a little bit of indignation or like hope that Canelo was actually going to fight one of the top PBC fighters like David Benavidez, Caleb Plant, or Jermall Charlo or somebody. But now, with these moves, it looks like the same type of moves Canelo was making with Golden Boy. So that must show you that this is actually Canelo who is the Geppetto, and he's not the puppet. He's pulling the strings, because the moves look identical to what they were before when he was with Golden Boy, and he's no longer with Oscar, and he's no longer with Golden Boy. So a lot of people thought Oscar De La Hoya was babying Canelo or holding him back from his greatness, but you see the moves that Canelo's making, and I'm not going to argue with nobody, but you know it's a great fight, and you know it's an anticipated fight. Canelo continues to fight these guys that, you know, it just doesn't build much anticipation, especially in America where he's fighting. They said that they were going to try to do this fight in Mexico, but that fell apart. They're saying because of the pandemic. So good luck. We'll see how many people want to see this particular fight. It's just, we know there's better fights out there for Canelo. So the last thing I want to say in closing is there are some people who they want people to give a whole bunch of credit to Canelo because he's fighting multiple times in a year. But if you're fighting this level of competition and your fights are looking like your last fight, 4-week training camp for Caleb Smith, and then he doesn't really land anything of note in 12 rounds, and then you're fighting a guy, Avni Yildrim, who hasn't fought in 2 years when you just fought in December, and you're about to fight in February, and he might have jet lag, all types of stuff. He's from Turkey, so he might not even be in America. So he has to come to America, acclimate, hasn't fought in 2 years, coming off a loss, coming off a stoppage. Everything's stacked against him. Judges tend to favor Canelo in fights, things of that sort. So, yeah, of course you can fight multiple times a year. But if you fought, I'm a person who firmly believes this. Listen close. Quality over quantity. I'd rather see you, instead of fighting 3 or 4 times a year, I'd rather see you fight one David Benavidez, one Jermall Charlo. That's just my honest opinion. And there's this misconception, and it's oftentimes used with black fighters, where there'll be a black fighter in this sport of boxing where they can't get the big marquee fights that they're looking for political reasons, because the politics of boxing. Guys like Devin Haney, guys like Demetrius Andrade, right? Not because they're unwilling to fight those people, but that is not, people always say, oh, but who's Devin Haney fought, or who is Demetrius Andrade beat? Why would I judge Demetrius Andrade or Devin Haney when they're calling for all the best fights and the politics haven't aligned for them to get the best fight? Demetrius Andrade is on Dazn. He should be in a position to get one of the top names at 160, 168, but they haven't made that a priority, right? Devin Haney, his mandatory is Ryan Garcia, but Ryan Garcia is talking about other fighters like Tank Davis. They're on the same platform. So why would I fault Devin Haney or Demetrius Andrade when I know it's the politics that is preventing them from not getting the names? However, Canelo, some people say he's the face of boxing. We know he's popular. He's in a different boat. He's in a position where he can corral these different fights. Any fight in boxing, if you send a respectable offer, they'll hear you out and you can likely get it. You know, people would love the honor of trading leather and testing their skills against Canelo. So he's not in the same position as other fighters. You know, we also seen this with Afro-Cuban fighters like Guillermo El Chicao Rigandao, where he was avoided, you know, he was a boogeyman. So it's not like he could just snap his fingers and get Leo Santa Cruz at the time, Scott Quigg, Carl Frampton. None of those guys would fight him. Canelo, there's a ton of guys that will fight you and or are calling you out that are great fights. Caleb Plant said he'll fight you. David Benavidez multiple times has called you out and he's been looking to beast. Jamal Charlo multiple times and was your mandatory in the previous division, and you could have fought him at 154. You know, Demetrius Andrade, you guys were both on the same platform and he was calling you out. He called you the B word. So it's a whole different situation, but people like to play dumb. So I had to clarify that. Let me know how I did in this video. Get UFC 257. They also have a UFC card this week. So as of recording the video, it should be on tonight. Make sure you guys use my link if you're interested in the ESPN Plus or getting that ESPN Plus UFC 257 pay-per-view. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego. A storm is coming. Conor McGregor, the rematch is here. Poirier versus McGregor 2, only on ESPN Plus. Use my link in the description. UFC 257. I'll see you at the fights.
Who the fuck is that guy?
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxingego, the future of boxing.